Hello, everyone, and welcome to this short presentation for TestFlix 2020 on using test idea catalogs for better testing. So test idea catalogs solve a bunch of problems in general, but in particular, they also solve a couple of specific ones, including the problems that we've already seen. So I know I've tested similar features over and over again over the years. This might be, search is a good example. On, search through different applications is always slightly different, but kind of mostly the same. Whether you're doing e-commerce or checking out, purchasing goods, there are features and concepts that don't change all that much over time. And the question I always have is, I know I've tested this before or something similar to this before. How can I learn from my past? How can I get better about the problems that I've already seen? How do I become more systematic? So this is one problem that I think Test Idea Catalog solves. Another problem is when I know I personally get stuck sometimes. I might be bored testing something new or existing. I might just not be able to come up with ways to test something that I think would be effective. Like, I don't even know, there's nothing that triggers that sense of creativity that I'm getting somewhere good, I'm testing beyond the basics. And again, I think that's something that test idea catalogs can help really well with. So the solution, as I've already said, are test idea catalogs. So what are they? Well, test idea catalogs are about developing a set of tests or specific objects or risks, and being able to reuse them later on. That's the whole concept. So let's talk about the first part of that concept, which is test ideas. What are they? Well, I first learned or heard about this idea of test ideas from Brian Merrick through BBST test design. And it's basically what's on the screen. It's just a brief description of something that should be tested. Now, this concept of a test idea is a bit different of a focus than what traditional test designers do. Most quote unquote traditional test designers focus on the procedure. And that means focusing on the steps, the inputs, the expected outputs, that kind of thing. But if you focus rather on the test idea, you go a little bit higher level. So a good example is with a shopping cart. So let's imagine that we have a shopping cart and it takes a quantity of a product. And so a test idea, listing out test ideas would look like this. It would say, you could test a number greater than 0, less than 0. You could test a number greater than 100. You could test a number that's not quite a number. And the goal here is that you're listing something high level, and then you can go and design the test later on once you think that this will potentially cause an issue. The second part of the concept is around catalogs. Now, catalogs are just lists of related items. And it's really important. You don't just want a list, but you want a list of related items. And they should be effective at finding information, because if it's not effective, what's the point of using it? And it should also be efficient. So if you're looking at a list of something and you can't determine what to use it for, that's not good. That's not going to be very efficient, and it's not going to be very effective. Now, one thing I will say about test idea catalogs is that they're heuristics. So you might find that sometimes they're really good and really applicable, and sometimes they're just not. So you have to develop an understanding and get comfortable with how to use them. So let's say you're sold now. You're like, great, let's build our own test idea catalog. What does that look like? Well, the way I do it is I start with a blank page in my favorite editor. It might be Google Docs, it might be Evernote, anywhere that I can put down scratch ideas. Right now, I'm adding them to Confluence because my company Promenade Group uses Jira and Confluence. So the thing is, I just start writing test ideas. I usually do this as I'm actively testing. And I start writing down those ideas. And I don't worry about anything other than just capturing those ideas. I might get inspiration from what I'm testing now. I might see something on social media. I might see, a bug come up in the news. Those kinds of things all get put into this list. And over time, this list grows. Once you get to a good point where you're comfortable sort of stopping adding this, and you're going to add to it over time. But once I'm done, the important part is that you then categorize the test ideas. And by categorize, I mean, you should stop and think about what it is these particular things have in common. Maybe they're about data, maybe they're about boundary analysis, maybe they're about potential failures or user experience or error messages that pop up in your application. Maybe they're about networking or network requests or errors in the UI. Whatever it is, you want to categorize them. And then after you've got categories, it's actually easier to start generating more and more test ideas. It depends on how well you understand those specific areas, but the more you understand them, like security might not be something that you understand, but as soon as you start getting some test ideas in there, you might then be able to create some more ideas about how best to test. Great, so now you've got this list. Hopefully this list over time starts getting bigger and bigger and starts paying more and more dividends. So now how do you use them? Well, the way I do it is I pick an item or category. Now, this is going to depend on how you've categorized things, but, and you should always be looking to edit your catalogs so that they are as effective and efficient as possible. But I'll pick an item or a category, and then I ask myself, will the software that I'm testing have this problem? Like, how likely is it that it's going to have this problem? How likely is it that this problem is going to matter right now? And if those things are high, if they're probable, then I'll start designing a test or several tests to try and expose those. And I just kind of rinse and repeat with this. So you keep pulling more items, might be a category, like I said, might be the specific ones. And it's about trying to figure out whether you should use this or not. Again, these are heuristics, these are the guides that you should take, but they're not hard and fast rules. So great, now you've got this list of test ideas. What might that look like in the end? Well, here are two examples. The example on the left, this is Elizabeth Hendrickson's, her test heuristics cheat sheet. But if you look at it, what you'll see is data type attacks. And these are basically catalogs. They're test ideas in many cases, timeouts, time differences between machines. Some are actual values. But you can see what she's done is separated them into categories of general, strings, numbers, that kinds of things. If you look on the right, this is mine. This is my general test catalog, test idea catalog. And I've got some separated into data sections, into errors, into test design techniques, exploratory testing. Again, you don't have to follow this. These are just kind of inspirational ideas. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching this presentation on using test idea catalogs for better testing. My name is Chris Kenst. This is a little bit about me. You can go to my website at kenst.com. You can email me. Hopefully you have lots of questions and I'd love to answer them. You can also reach out to me on social media at @ckenst. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub. I'm at all the places. Thank you very much and have a great day.